to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of Pete Travis's 2012 Expressionist buddy cop siege thriller, Dredd, also known as Dredd 3D.
Dredd 3D, nice. I hadn't heard that one. But I never saw this movie when it came out. I've never read the comics. If it was billed as a 3D movie, I always avoid 3D movies.
I usually do too. Watching this though, I did sort of regret not seeing it in 3D. It looks like, especially watching like the behind the scenes stuff, they really use the technology to its full advantage rather than converting it to 3D, which is usually what they do for like blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
So we can upcharge for 3D tickets.
Sure.
So let's convert it.
Yeah, so this movie was made for, the budget says like 30 to 45 million, somewhere in that zone. I don't know how they can lose 15 million, but it only made 41.5 million at the box office. So this is a loser. Yeah,
the movie was considered a failure, but was sort of an instant cult classic.
Karl Urban is great.
Yes.
I like him in The Boys, and he's just generally awesome. And I had forgot he was in this movie, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy, he's awesome."
Yeah, he's whatever he does, he's good in it. You know, going all the way back to Lord of the Rings. When he's Éomer, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah. One of those.
I haven't watched
one of those Riders of Rohan.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings stuff in forever.
Oh, it's worth a revisit.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's just 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever. I also was really pleasantly surprised that Cersei Lannister was in this one, Lena Headey.
Yeah.
And she plays a very sinister role. So I mean, obviously she's a bad guy in Game of Thrones, but she's this is like a miscreant sinister.
Yeah, Lena Headey's great. I wish there was just more of her in it. Honestly, like that's I think
I can see
she's so awesome, and it's like I just feel because it's a pretty brief movie. It's only just a little over an hour and a half.
It was tight though.
Yeah, and so it's like it leaves you, or leaves me anyway, wanting more instead of like, you know, not to bag on the last movie we saw, but Minority Report. Like we felt like we could cut some fat off of it.
Yeah. I definitely think like if I was more tech savvy or whatever, I would be good at fan edits because Jesus, these things, some of these have too much. Whereas this movie, this was lean. There were only a couple of moments that I think were cuttable, and even still, it wasn't rambling. So you can leave those little flavor moments in.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been kind of excited to get to this one because it felt like this is a movie Dave will like.
Yeah, I feel like this was actually a cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, it definitely is a cyberpunk movie.
Like some of these movies are not cyberpunk at all.
We had two non-cyberpunk movies make their way into this list.
Yeah, fuck you, Letterboxd.
Well, we
all right. Fuck you, Nick.
Letterboxd is on the hook for Dark City.
We're on the hook for 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys came from IMDb, from their list, I think. Regardless, neither one of those movies had cyber or punk in them.
They're post-apocalyptic or maybe just dystopian future movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and really, I like Letterboxd. It's probably the better site to
It is.
too.
And we have a Letterboxd account. I haven't really done anything yet, but I'm going to get all of our reviews and everything uploaded
and just put them all in there.
And get us a good presence on Letterboxd because we've been we can talk about this at the end, but we've been expanding our reach in the metaverse lately.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's roll for initiative. You got the dice?
It's around here somewhere.
All right,
2.
Oh, he's a deuce. So we got a 5% chance of me going second. Nope, I'm going first. I got 12. All right, so Metallica released a new song and announced a new album. The new song is called Lux Eterna. The new album is called 72 Seasons, and it's out April 14th, 2023. So we just have a few months to wait. The new song slaps. The video is cool. And it even has cyberpunk vibes.
I kind of
like laser lights and these pseudo holographic overlays and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't watch the video closely because I was playing it while I was driving, so I just sort of had it sitting
I'm
on.
glad you didn't watch it. I paid attention to it because I knew this was going on my notes for the show.
Because I just played the song and I was like, oh, that has a video. Like I just sort of saw the flashing lights and stuff, and I was like, but I hadn't gotten back to it. It's good. It sounds like Metallica. I mean.
For sure.
An unfavorable description would be like if you had an AI write a song that sounds like Metallica, it would sound like this.
I don't know.
That's not. It's okay to sound like Metallica, but it doesn't sound. It sounds like Metallica doing a Metallica song.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a crappy Metallica song.
No,
and I hate that they have crappy songs, but they do. They have like 2 crappy albums. And this is kind of like the Hardwired material, but I think it actually even goes a little further toward the old school with the riff.
It's very thrashy.
Because So I was listening to it with a critical ear, and I really liked James's vocal approach on this one. He does some long held notes. He does a little bit of melodic, but he also does the kind of the like "and justice for all" sneer.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the era it seems like they're capturing.
Yeah, and I really like that era. The justice stuff is really good, and I really liked the solo. It was fast and shreddy, and it had some like interesting slidey parts that were almost intentionally sloppy. Like it wasn't this was not a textbook Kirk Hammett solo.
Yeah, they had Kirk on a leash for at least through the load cycles and on for a while.
Yeah,
if you watch the what's that documentary? Some kind of monster.
Yeah.
If you watch Some Kind of Monster, the fact that they don't want Kirk playing solos is a real bone of contention in the band because he objects.
That's his thing.
Yeah, he's like, why do you have a lead guitar player if you won't let me do solos?
Yeah, exactly.
But you know. So I'm glad to see him off the leash, I guess is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah, when Kirk just cuts loose, he's fucking awesome. I love that guy's playing.
That reminds me, I need to listen to his solo album again because it was really good too.
Yeah, it is really good. I haven't listened to it recently either. Just a couple more comments on this. The aesthetic, I thought that James, they had these multiple guys were wearing cool like black leather jackets. James had black pyramid studs on the lapels and stuff, and it actually looked really cool, like blending in. But mostly James was playing his old school white Flying V. And I was
classic.
like, oh man, I've been wanting a white Flying V for so long. I can't decide whether I want to get a custom one that's a little more like duded up and fancy, or do like a proper replica that's kind of like a base model Flying V that's white rather than like a custom or something. I don't know. It's a really great song. Okay, it's not a great song. It's a really good song.
Yeah,
it doesn't hold up with like Master of Puppets, but it holds up with anything they've done in 20 years.
So what do we think about the band's material outside their Imperial phases? I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
That's a tough one.
Where it's like, you like when it's a band you like when they come out with new stuff, and you might listen to it quite a bit. But what's the point of it?
I don't know. I mean,
like if you don't,
just because you want more,
but you never love it as much as the stuff from the classic era.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'm a big fan of Agalloch, right? And they never really got out of their Imperial phase before they broke up.
Right.
I mean, arguably they have a few side EPs that are really experimental, but they were, that's never the sound. Anyway, there's a band from Ukraine called The Morning Side.
Okay.
That sounds like European Agalloch.
Okay.
I listen to them too because I just want more.
Yeah.
I want more of that.
That's fair.
And
I don't not want more, but there's a voice in my head that's like, why? I'm becoming very skeptical of the nostalgia machine that's constantly pumping nostalgia on us.
You're thinking you should just, rather than listening to non-Imperial phase stuff, find a different band that
Maybe
he's doing
or
something
listen to
else.
the older stuff.
Listening
But
to the older stuff is an option. I do put on Ride the Lightning with regularity, especially when I'm at the gym. But geez, I've listened to the first 5 Metallica albums. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say several hundred times each. Probably, I mean, maybe 1,000 for Ride the Lightning because it's my favorite. Because I've been listening to him since I was 12.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like I want them locked in a box. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad they're writing music. 12. Yeah. So it's
15.
Like, yeah. Okay. It's good. I agree. It's good. But just that there's that voice in the back of my head that says, why?
Well, it was good.
It was good.
And Hardwired to Self-Destruct, the last album, was good. Like, it's not qualified good. It's just actually good. You can listen to it, and it's a good album. It would have been a good album if it was put out by Trivium or by any other mainstream metal band.
I think even Saint Anger even has its moments.
If the drum sound was fixed, it would have been an okay album.
You know, I like that weird snare drum. That's
of
the
course
thing.
you do.
That's the thing that I've come around to because I started listening to a lot of like crust punk and DB,
and they're like, gang, gang,
yeah, and they
gang.
have that cack snare drum, and I go, oh, that's kind of what Lars was doing in Saint Anger. So let me reevaluate Saint Anger through the lens.
Have you come around to Lulu?
I haven't bothered with that.
Yeah, don't.
Although Metallica just slandered everyone for not liking that album.
Well, I mean, of course they're proud of it.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Anyway, what do you got?
All right. There's sort of a running theme through all of my news. First up is Shin Ultraman is finally getting a U.S. release in the form of a two-night Fathom event, January 11th. Subtitled, January 12th dubbed. I've been dying to see this movie since it released in Japan. It's done a few festivals and stuff in America, but this is the first time the wider American audience will get a chance to see this. Tickets go on sale December 9th. This is Shinji Higuchi is a frequent collaborator of Hideaki Anno. Anno, since they wrote the movie, Shinji Higuchi is directing it. And I'm just stoked to finally be able to get tickets. Did I mention they go on sale on the 9th? I think I did.
You did. When is it playing, though?
January 11th and 12th.
Huh, interesting. Are you going to subbed or dubbed, or both?
Probably subtitled, because if it's anything like Shin Godzilla, some content is lost in the translation with the dub. So I think I'd rather see the subtitled version. But I'm going to hang back and kind of watch the internet and see if there's some sort of like scene meetup viewing of this, like a particular screening that people are going to go to at a particular theater. And then I'll go to that one.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. So the theme for my news things are...
All Metallica?
No. Just all stuff we're going to talk about a lot.
Okay.
Not little bite size.
Okay.
So like we did 5 minutes on Metallica. So we
didn't even talk about the tour.
Oh yeah, let's get to that. So yes, and I didn't tell you the reason their album is called 72 Seasons, because that's how many seasons there are in your first 18 years of life.
And it's
an album that explores the idea of the indoctrination that you have in your childhood and how you spend the rest of your life unpacking that and reevaluating all of those values that were hammered into you against your will.
Okay.
That's pretty deep shit.
That's pretty deep shit. That's and like, yeah, James has a lot of stuff to unpack.
Yeah, he has a lot to think about. And the tour is it's like this huge tour. Like they're going everywhere, and they're doing these 2-night festival things. Well, it's over 3 nights, 2 shows, a day apart. And that's
old man stuff, having that day off in between.
I know. Fuck, man. Are you Aussie now? Well, you can't do back-to-backs? Anyway, and they play 2 unique sets, and it's going to be like a big fucking deal. And they have Pantera opening for them, like the Pantera tribute band.
Yeah, I was like, you have to do the air quotes when you say Pantera.
Honestly, though, I mean, this is gonna. If there's any Pantera purists out there that are gonna be mad, Zakk Wylde's a better guitar player than Dimebag Darrell, and I'm not a fan of Zakk Wylde. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. But proficiency wise, he is, and so
I can't argue with what you're saying.
He can clearly do all of Dime's parts. He's not writing new stuff. He's just copying, and he can play that super wanky, squealy shit like super proficiently.
Yeah.
And as long as Phil is on vocals, it's gonna sound like Pantera.
It is. It's a good. So yeah, we've never talked about this.
No, we haven't.
Who's in? So Rex Brown and Phil Anselmo from Pantera, and then Zakk Wylde on guitar and Charlie. Of
Charlie
Ozzy.
from Anthrax, yeah.
Charlie
Ozzy,
Benante.
It's Zakk Wylde from Ozzy and Black Label Society, and then Anthrax drummer.
I listened to some I've never been into it, but I listened to a bit the other day because I was listening to a friend's playlist, and like I didn't become a convert, but like
no, I just don't like the vocals. Honestly.
I get it, like I get why people like it. It's just not my flavor.
Yeah, exactly. Like the same thing. I listened to Black Label Society, and I was like, "This is cool. It's not Dave cool."
Yeah, it's just a different kind of metal. Yeah,
yeah.
There's a lot of different flavors of metal.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep genre. Part of me is like, I want to go to that show in Seattle because it'd be cool, but it's at a really, really inconvenient dates with regards to my work. So like it would be super annoying.
And the day off in the middle is a bitch.
It's obnoxious. And so like, what do? Come home, stay in a hotel?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I thought about going to LA because my brother-in-law lives there.
Okay.
But then it's like, it's also at kind of a weird, inconvenient date. So it's like, man, I might just miss this.
And I'm guessing it's probably around $600 for the 2 tickets.
Yeah, I mean, you generally can't find Metallica tickets for one night for $300. That's lucky.
Yeah, so it might be more than $600. And you know, like even though we're
I really just want to see
older
the first
guys,
night. I just want to see the Pantera night.
Oh yeah.
Can I find someone to do a splitsies pass with me and they see the second night?
Maybe. You know, that's something. I mean, not that I want to see Five Finger Death Punch. That's a bad, like, that kept me from going to see Megadeth.
Yeah, I hate those guys. Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, bad choice. But they are a big band. Like, I get Metallica.
They're very popular.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know. People...
I hate
Stolen Valor people like them, right? Like that's the thing. Like if you want to dress up like a soldier,
military fetishists.
That's who likes Five Finger Death Punch.
And, like there's another tour that's coming up where I hate, like it's the Fear Factory tour. I'm an unapologetic fan of Fear Factory, even just Dino Factory. That's fine. He wrote all the music anyway.
Soulfly tickets go on sale Friday.
We're talking that's dope. We should do that. Okay. Anyway, but they're playing with Static X, and I'm like, come on, that's lame. This guy's dead. You just have a guy in a mask, and Fear Factory is opening for Static X, which I guess I could then leave, but then I'm paying for a headliner I don't want to see.
I'm just offended at what you just said.
I know, right? A band without even...
I'm very offended that Static... That's one of those things where that's really bad form for the band, for Static X to have Fear Factory open for them.
I agree.
When at their best, Static X is sort of a Fear Factory worshipping band.
Yeah, and except with a worse vocal style. It makes...
R.I.P. Wayne Static.
Yeah, sorry, Wayne. The reason they're doing it is because Tony Campos is the bass player in both bands. So, okay, that makes sense. But still... it's just bad form. It's bad form. It's bad form to put the baby band on the top of the bill. You know what you can do? You can do a co-headlining tour if it's about saving face or whatever, and they both need to play equal set lists. Yeah,
that's how you do that. But you can't have Fear Factory open for Static X.
Yeah, no. So
down.
I might actually buy a ticket to that and just leave after Fear Factory, because I love that band.
Yeah, I support that.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I just rambled about a bunch of music stuff. I'll save my last. I only had two big news things. So you go and then I'll go.
All right. So building off of my last one, very light on details, but Netflix announced a Gamera anime series. And this is
You are such a weeb.
All my news is tokusatsu news or tangentially related.
Carrie will like this shit.
Yeah. And so it's very little is known other than it's going to be directed by Shusuke Kaneko and it's titled Gamera Rebirth. Shusuke Kaneko was the director of the much beloved Gamera trilogy from the 90s, which he co-directed with Shinji Higuchi, who's directing Shin Ultraman. It seems like this is more of a solo operation, or at least as far as we can tell so far. Really, there's nothing but like a teaser and teaser posters and stuff of this. So no one really knows if it's a series or if it's a film or a series of films. But there has not been any new Gamera material since 2006. So this is sort of exciting news in the kaiju fandom.
That sounds cool. I mean, I'm interested.
Yeah. So, and with Netflix, it's like you already pay for it. So you can at least watch 15 minutes and see if you're into the giant turtle action.
Yeah, and then just leave it.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? Turtle's not for me. I don't like turtles.
I mean, I watch entire episodes of that Australian show where they're catching nuisance crocodiles.
Oh, really?
So,
you might be into turtles.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next piece?
All right, I'm gonna read their press release thing.
Okay.
Set more than a decade after the events of the first film, Avatar: The Way of Water tells the story of the Sully family, the trouble that follows them, the lengths that they go to keep each other safe, and the battles they fight to stay alive and tragedies they endure. $400 million, 13 years later. Should we care?
It's a tough one.
It's coming out December 16th, so we won't be able to see it before our December 15th episode drops. So
I mean, at the time the first Avatar came out, I told people with kids then, this will be your kids' Star Wars.
Wow.
There's going to be...
This will be your kids' Fern Gully.
Yeah, because the thing that happened was James Cameron, legendary director of some flawless films, became obsessed with the technology, the 3D technology, the CGI technology, and couldn't get this movie made without spending an ungodly amount of money on it and taking all of this time. So when the culture was ready for an Avatar trilogy that would have really impacted, they let those kids grow up and move on, and they've had Marvel movies and they've had every other thing to be into.
None of the Gen Z kids have seen Avatar 1.
No, they don't give a shit about this. You were never a big fan of this.
I thought it sucked. I saw it in the theater and I was like, another great white guy comes to save the natives from the resource plunderers, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes native, a la Dances with Wolves.
Lawrence of Arabia.
It's just like,
Dune.
Come on. Yeah, what the hell?
It is, it is a classic story. The
white savior story.
The white savior story. The thing that was remarkable about it was the CGI animation to it, the motion acting.
Matrix
and all
is
that.
Better than this.
There's a lot of movies better than Avatar.
I mean, I'm talking about just looking. And Matrix is earlier too.
That's true. So I don't know. I'll see it I might not be able to see it because
you're gonna hate watch it.
Lisa has a really negative view of the Avatar. Like, she's become very hostile towards it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a pretty negative trope.
And the movie has to be within the top 5 highest grossing movies of all time just to break even.
Yeah, it's not going to be. This is going to be panned.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a good chance that
I don't think it breaks 300 million.
Yeah. So Yeah. No, I'm not excited about Avatar.
Have you met anyone that is?
That's excited about Avatar? No. I think mostly you hear sort of cautious, like, oh, yeah, I remember that movie. That was fun.
No, that was all right. That was cool.
Yeah, like that was pretty cool 15 years ago. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Avatar, I'm curious because, well, I mean, James Cameron directed Aliens and Terminator 2.
It's true. Those are great movies.
Yeah.
But we have not reviewed.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us?
I don't know. We probably should have got a Terminator movie into this countdown.
Yeah. Probably should.
Probably both Terminator movies could have easily bumped out Dark City and 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, easily. All right. Well, that was my piece. I'm super skeptical of this. Mm-hmm. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'm not a hater on principle. If the movie is amazing and everyone's like, holy shit, I'll go see it. But I'm not going to go without knowing the reviews.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. The animation, it's a movie like this that's 90% CG, I think of as like an animated movie.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
And the animation looks amazing. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean the story's any good.
Yeah, yeah. But, and so I'm gonna have to wait and see. What
you'll wait. I'll see it because I see everything, and then I'll tell you if it's a hit or a miss.
Okay. So do you have one more piece?
Yeah. Let's just because we've gone a little long. I'll just keep it to the bigger of my two. R.I.P. Jason David Frank. The actor and martial artist known best for portraying
Tommy the Green Ranger.
Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, took his own life at the age of 49. I'm a little old for Power Rangers, but he's been like a real figurehead at conventions for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's
he's like a bit older than us. He's just like kind of in our cohort though.
He radiated positivity. You always saw him. I would see him interacting with his fans, whether it was at his table or if he's walking around, and like you'd hear him at conventions, like you hear him yell out, "It's morphin' time," and like people loved this guy, and he seemed to really love his fans. And it's like the candle that burns brightest burns half as long, or sometimes the most positive people are the people struggling the most.
Yeah,
and
sure,
and him taking his life really brings that home, because I just thought, like, God, every time I saw that guy, he was just like beaming smiles and like putting out good energy, PMA into the world.
Yeah.
And obviously he was struggling with stuff. And so it's pretty sad that he's no longer with us.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching that show a little bit, and like when he pulled out that flute,
his flute dagger
flute, my mind was blown.
Yeah, and because he plays it with the helmet on.
He fucking rocks that thing. Yeah, with the helmet on.
Which, it doesn't make any sense at all. And he has the coolest Zord, the Dragon Zord. Every other Zord was based on a real prehistoric animal, and he had a Godzilla Zord.
Yeah, so not to like.
It's the dopest. He was the coolest Power Ranger, and gone too soon.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what do we got for our podcast fuel?
All right, this is our podcast fuel is called Pure Chaos. It's a collab from Gigantic in Portland and 5440 here in the Shug. Nice. These are both repeat breweries for us. We tend to like these beers. It's a West Coast style IPA. Their copy they have is, have you ever spoken to Bolton James Minister, founder and owner, brewmaster of 5440? Well, it's a lot like this beer, all over the place, but comes together in the end. 7.2 ABV. It is it's a bold hop punch West Coast IPA. Offer a citrus rind aroma with some berry and melon fruitiness, and throw in a light caramely malt base and end with a dry piney finish.
You know, they can say all they want, but I just drink this and I think, another good IPA. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not too bitter. I mean, sometimes IPAs just go overboard on bitterness. It's not too bitter. It's smooth. You can taste those little fruity notes. It's just a good beer. Yeah.
It's exactly... They're two breweries I trust implicitly.
Yeah.
Gigantic's never led me wrong. Neither is 5440. So the two of them coming together, obviously they're going to make a quality beer. Mm-hmm. I think we're both getting close to polishing off these bottles
about
here
halfway
already.
Through, and we're not even into the movie.
So yeah, another winner from both those breweries.
All right, let's take a short break and then come on back and jump into Dredd.
Welcome back, divers. Let's dive into Dredd 2012, directed by Pete Travis.
So this movie is one of the first ones in the series that actually kind of feels modern.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, it's only 10 years old.
Yeah.
And it's very much a teens or it's from that era, not from yesteryear, last year instead of yesteryear.
Yeah, it starts off with a voiceover and some post-apocalyptic scenery where we're shown this we're explained that it's 2080 in a post-nuclear war wasteland that's called Cursed Earth.
America is an irradiated wasteland. He couldn't quite cover the Kiwi accent when he says America. But otherwise, I think Karl Urban's Clint Eastwood sort of rasp is pretty flawless.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just wants to put that R on the end of America for some reason.
Yeah, and we're shown that there's just one East Coast city left. It's called Mega City 1, and it's a city of 800 million people.
Yeah, stretching from Boston to Washington D.C., and it's a walled off megalopolis.
Yeah, it's like reminds me of Night City. Honestly,
it looks a lot like it. That's what the architecture. I thought that,
especially the apartment building.
And then when they go into any of the buildings they go into, it looks like the interiors from Night City in Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, it's pretty uncanny.
Yeah.
And so it was immediate. The visuals, immediate, like the setting, it was a hit with me. I was just like, wow, this is dystopian as fuck. It's very cyber, very punk. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, so they filmed in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay.
Because it's built on a grid similar to Manhattan, and so for one, that allows them to digitally extend it forever because you can just repeat the grid. But there's something about the grid that feels American. So they were like, this looks like it could be an American city, but it's got that grunge to it. It's kind of a rough town, and so the raw Johannesburg already kind of had the right vibe, and then they can digitally just dress it up a little bit, add the mega blocks and stretch things out.
Yeah, I thought that the wall was really cool, like the drones flying overhead and everything looked really cool. I was into that. The end of the voiceover, he basically tells us that the only force for order are the judges who act as judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess you set it up. I get it now.
You get it. You get right from the start. And while we're getting like the sort of the voiceover and the view of the mega city and everything, you starts cutting in scenes of Karl Urban as Dredd suiting up for putting on his judge uniform for his day at work. And you just know exactly the vibe that you're dropping into when you watch this.
Yeah, his gear, it's like tactical gear plus riot armor. Kind of looks exo armor. I don't know if it's reinforced at all, but it just looked pretty cool. The only thing that I had a problem with, the helmet.
Yeah,
it looks kind of like Peacemaker's helmet, but a little darker. More, it's not made of gold or whatever. But I hate the look of the helmet. The visor with the X in the front of it. I think that might actually be what kept me from seeing this movie.
Oh, wow.
It just looks so stupid. Every time I see the helmet, I'm like, "You look stupid." That obstructs your vision.
The X is really bad for the vision. It's a very iconic design, but it is like you do kind of like, you're like, where does he look? Because he's always going to have to be looking around that X.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's just transparent to him because
Yeah,
future
I don't think so.
technology.
I don't think the X is like the
Yeah.
visor. He can obviously see through. So Carlos Esquera is the original designer of Judge Dredd, and he was talking about how that the costume was supposed to be really extreme, you know, and sort of fascistic looking with the big eagle on the shoulder and everything.
I like that.
And then he in the documentary I was watching, he commented how nowadays this is what most cops look like.
Yeah.
Like the militarization of the police force in the late 70s and early 80s, it's sort of dystopian satire. This has become reality. Like seeing cops in a full helmet like this is not uncommon at all.
It's fully militarized.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to get that out of the way early on because it really just, every time I saw the helmets, him or the other judges, I was just like, oof, you look dumb.
Oh, man.
And I realized that this is because they kept it because it's a comic book. It's iconic to Dredd.
Yeah, it's like Batman's mask.
Yeah, you can't take off Dredd's helmet.
Well, Stallone did.
Yeah, I mean...
That's part of why people hate that movie.
They really should have got rid of the helmet.
That's sacrilege.
It's the dumbest looking helmet I've seen in a long time. I mean, like, really, only Peacemaker's helmet is dumber.
His is absurd.
On
Like,
purpose, but it's like they're in the same category.
Huh.
Even Batman's mask looks more realistic and like useful or something. I don't know.
Now, so Dredd's helmet, to do the counterpoint, is supposed to dehumanize him, right? It's the same thing.
Sure, like a stormtrooper helmet.
Right.
Or
And you know, and the only expression he has is just the frowning chin, like the scowling chin. It's what RoboCop imitated, basically.
Sure.
They were copying Judge Dredd with that design. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Dredd helmet is awesome, and this is a very good version.
Yeah,
of it.
it eventually faded into the background.
You got used to it. You
Yeah.
accepted it.
And so after we see the suit up scene, we don't need to dwell on every little thing here.
Yeah. We could.
We get it. Yeah, we really could. We get an establishing scene. We had the prologue where it sets the setting, and now we have an establishing scene of who is Dredd and what does he do.
Yeah.
He's riding his cool motorcycle. And
The Lawmaster.
I do like the Lawmaster. I didn't know it was called that, but it's cool. He's riding it through town. He chases some bad guys who are very clearly bad guys. They remind me of the bad guys from RoboCop, complete with van and everything.
It's very like the circular inspiration is interesting. How like RoboCop is influenced by the Judge Dredd comics, and then the film RoboCop influences the Judge Dredd movie, and like the snake eats its tail.
And they show that these guys are bad because they brutally run a dude down and then they start shooting at the cop and all this stuff. Anyway, I like when they show the capabilities of the bike, like bike, activate crowd control.
Yeah.
And it starts like telling people to back off and stuff. And then he chases one of them into a mall. And this looks exactly like a Night City
That's what I thought.
shopping center. I was like, holy fuck, I played this video game.
Yeah.
If only there was like a Judge Dredd skin pack.
To put on it?
For Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, he he offers the guy a deal. I'll give you life without parole or death.
Yeah.
You're up to you. He's like, that's not a deal.
Yeah, the guy really overestimates how much leverage he has with dealing with
Yeah,
Dredd.
he's like, oh, you have a hostage, whatever. Don't care if she dies. And he shoots an incendiary flare into the guy's mouth and incinerates his head.
Yeah. This is all really good storytelling.
Yeah, it's
like
an establishing shot.
And so we've right off the bat we set up a few things. Like we set up how his equipment all works.
Yeah.
Like you see when he loads up the gun, it's got a biometric ID. So
yeah,
that
multiple types of ammo and all that.
That's all paid off later in the movie. Like that the guns are tied to the judges and their biometrics, and that everything is voice controlled and there's different kinds of ammo. It's all being set up now to be paid off later in the movie.
Why don't we have biometric guns now?
NRA doesn't want that.
I do.
Yeah.
And I like guns.
A lot of reasonable people would be like, yeah, what if the gun
no
only worked for me? Then no one could steal it and shoot me.
Gun.
Yeah. You know, you have to take that up with Wayne LaPierre.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so Dredd after the hostage situation, the girl from the Chinese food restaurant thanks him, and he gets summoned back to headquarters.
Yeah, he has to go and talk to the chief judge.
Yeah.
And he is assigned a new recruit.
Yeah.
Cassandra Anderson.
I don't want to skip over the overhead announcements in the mall
Okay,
because
go
this
ahead.
is just good dystopian flavor. Because while the mass shooting is going on through the mall, there's just announcements to avoid the food court.
Yeah.
And then after the situation is resolved and the janitors are pushing the street sweeper or like the polishers through the bloody floor, the announcements are saying, the food court will be reopened in this much time, and like this is
how it is.
This is how it is in Mega City 1, and I wish it was further from reality in just any city in America, but that's basically how we operate already.
Yeah, sure.
We hardly stop for a mass shooting anymore.
Exactly. It doesn't. Sometimes they barely make the news. They're a blip and then they're gone. Like there were 3 last week.
Yeah,
Fuck.
How wild is that? Like it used to be like a Columbine shooting was all you would hear on the news for months and months.
Yeah.
Now we can have 3 in a week and be like, which one are you talking about? The Walmart one or the one where they blew up a church, or it's like
and like Kanye's presidency run gets more news than the 3 mass shootings.
oof.
That's fucked, dude.
Our satire and reality are indistinguishable at this point. It's very much like Judge Dredd is supposed to be...
It's a documentary, actually.
Yeah, it's supposed to be satire about America, but it doesn't feel satirical at all. It just feels like just a regular cop movie.
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, okay, I stepped on your toes.
Yeah, whatever.
He's being introduced to...
It's a classic trope where the grizzled veteran is forced to mentor a rookie. And in this case, it's not just mentor a rookie. He has to deal with a potential judge. She's being tested by him. She barely failed the judge tests by just a couple points.
It's not marginal.
Yeah.
It's a fail.
A fail's a fail. I'm with Dredd. A fail's a fail.
Yeah.
Do you want a firefighter that barely failed the drag a corpse test? No, I could be that corpse.
It's true.
And so, but they're willing to let the score slide because she's a really powerful psychic.
Yeah, she's a mutant.
Yeah, and I just was like, because I've never read the comic, I've never seen the movie. I was just like, wow, this is cool. I like the idea of like mutants and shit in this sort of dystopian thing. Is there a Judge Dredd role playing game? I had to bring it up.
Is there a Judge Dredd role playing game? There just absolutely would have to be, right?
To be. Or
because
you could
everything
easily
gets
homebrew any of this.
Sure. Yeah,
It's so simple.
It's not outside of any normal cyberpunk settings. So any game you had would work. But there has to be a Judge Dredd role playing game in the 40 years that the comic book has been around.
Yeah.
Someone has licensed it to be a role, probably Palladium. They
Or Green Ronin, they'll get their hands on an IP.
Yeah, I bet there's a Judge Dredd. It might be collectible though.
Yeah,
that's the
it's
thing.
probably out of print.
Yeah, because the license lapsed and they
the
didn't
movie
renew
didn't
it.
do very well.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to you on that one, Divers. We'll look into that.
Nick will tweet about it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the chief cop says, "Push her to the deep end," and he goes, "It's all the deep end." I got a good laugh off of that one.
Yeah, I love Karl Urban delivering these lines.
Is this where Christian Bale got his Batman?
Voice? No, I think Batman Begins is before this. Yeah, no, but Karl.
But did Michael Keaton talk like this?
Nah, Michael Keaton rasps a little harder. This is sort of like Kurt Russell did a Clint Eastwood. This is the Karl Urban. This is the Dirty Harry voice caricatured. Like he's making fun of the American cop tough guy voice.
Yeah.
And
it's
perfect.
It's great. It's amazing.
It's flawless.
So basically, he meets with this lady, Anderson, who's this blonde-haired lady. She doesn't wear a helmet because it interferes.
She does at first, right? She wears the helmet because it comes up later that she forgot it.
Yeah. And
Side Judge Anderson is played by Olivia Thirlby. I love that name.
Yeah,
not Trilby, Thirlby.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a showbiz name.
I don't know.
But he lists all the stuff that's an automatic fail, and it's just hilarious. Yeah. Like, it's a hilariously long movie list of things that are an automatic fail, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is satire, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
It's amusing, like how extra this shit is.
Yeah. Your assessment begins now. Like, I just love it. And I love...
Was it meant to be a comedy? Like...
Yeah, Judge Dredd is supposed to be funny. I think...
It's just over the top.
It's one of those things where, like RoboCop or The Punisher or anything that's got kind of macho violence in it, there's a certain part of the population that's not in on the joke.
Oh, they take it seriously.
Because they are the joke, and so they don't. they just think, yeah, Judge Dredd's hard as nails, man. He's so tough, and it's like they don't see like, oh, this is pretty scary and fascistic.
How
and
we're
like,
making fun of these guys.
Yeah, but they don't get it, unfortunately.
So then we cut to another scene, and there's a lady in a bath.
Yeah,
and there's like this slow motion cascade of water, and it's got like sparkles and prismatic light coming out of each drop of water, and it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, so let's
this is Lena Headey. Sorry,
Yeah.
I want to add an L in there. Lena Headey in the bathtub, and she's high as balls, and she has a gnarly ass scar across her face.
Yeah, and I wanted to shout out the cinematographer Anthony Dodd Mantle, Academy Award winning cinematographer
For this?
No, for Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay. That was a good movie. I saw it in the theater.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
I've never seen Slumdog.
Dude, that shit's good.
I believe it. Everyone involved is great, but he really took the 3D technology and ran with it, and they came up with special slow motion rigs to shoot this stuff, and they shoot at 3,000 frames per second.
Holy.
For reference, 24 is standard.
Yeah.
So 3,000 is a lot, and that's how they achieve these really like incredible slow motion shots.
Yeah, like I have some camera stuff that'll do like 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
And so this stuff is all gorgeous. And this is what made me think, like, because I missed this in the theater, probably because the old school Dredd movie was so bad.
Yeah.
And I probably was like, yeah, we'll skip Dredd. I wish I had seen it because this stuff had to look just incredible with the glasses.
Because it looked really cool on my screen at home.
Exactly.
And so it probably looks really cool there. Anyway, so we see that they're in this 200-story slum tower called the Peach Tree. And this is a drug lord named Mama, short for Madeline. Madeline Madrigal. So it's Mama.
And so she gets called away from her bath time because 3 rival dealers were caught in their territory. And the goons want to know, what do we want to do? Do you want to make an example of them? And she just casually, she's like, skin him and throw him off the balcony. And one of her dudes pops in, hit him with a little slow-mo first, and she's like, sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super hyper-addictive drug delivered by inhaler, and it slows your perceptions down to 1% of normal.
Yeah. At least they hit him with the slow-mo after they skinned them.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's like, but they really felt the whole fall down 200 floors.
And then it switches to ground floor level, and you just see these gnarly sacks of blood splatting on the pavement, and it's just grisly as fuck.
Oof.
Yeah.
Man, this is rough. Yeah.
And people are like, ugh, but not like running away in terror, more like, why?
I think it's just the reality of living in these blocks. Like the people live, this sort of stuff happens. And you just hope you don't get squashed by a body that comes falling down, basically. Yeah, it's gnarly. And so we cut back over to our judges getting on their lawmasters and about to roll out. And Dredd's he's giving Anderson the lowdown on how many crimes there are a minute and how many they can respond to. And it's about 6%. And he's like, she's like, which we respond to? And he's like, your show, rookie. And so she picks multiple homicides at peach trees. And so he radios in, we've got peach trees, and they roll out.
Yeah, and he asks her about her motivation, like why she wants to be a judge or whatever, and she wants to make a difference because she was raised in a slum.
Yeah, he's like, admirable. he makes admirable seem like a curse.
It's like an insult.
Yeah, like it's because he's so jaded. He doesn't think there's no chance to make a difference.
Yeah, like if she had said something like, "I want to punish the wicked," he'd be like, "Yeah."
That's also why I do this. Yeah. And Peachtree's I like when we come in there, we see these kids like skating on a half pipe.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's cool that the youth have a recreation area on Peachtree's. And then you see it's like on the side about 100 stories up on the side of this building. And you're like, oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that might be dangerous.
Yeah, but they live in this dystopia and they don't have anything to live for. So, and you could get teenagers to do this anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
They absolutely would do it.
Yeah, so they go to the Peachtree and they basically they start talking to the medic guy, and they learn that this place is like run by the Mama clan.
Yeah.
And he gives, and the medic guy gives him a total bio on Mama and tells about the gang takeover, how there were previous gangs, and those gangs like the
Red Dragons, the Peyote Kings, and the Judged.
The Judged were fucking hilarious. Like wannabe cops. Those are the thin blue line Punisher cucks of today.
Yeah, they have the judge helmets tattooed on their heads.
But they're not.
But they're drug dealers.
Yeah.
That is very much, there are definitely people like that. I always think that when I see like a bunch of bikers with the thin blue line, and I think
it's like, aren't you supposed to be?
Aren't you outlaws?
Aren't you a rebel?
You're weird cop worshipping outlaws. I don't Who do you think the law is?
It's like rats that worship cats.
Oh wow, you're onto something. It's like they have that parasite.
Yeah, exactly.
they have the parasite. The cops got the parasite to them, and now they go running to cops, just like the rats with it. There's a worm in their brain. Yeah. I think you really
cracked the code.
you nailed it. So the paramedic info dumps on the whole history of the building.
Mm-hmm. And normally I hate these info dumps where they're just telling some stuff or whatever, but it was actually pretty entertaining.
Well, and he's pretty happy to see some law enforcement come into his building because he's like, it seems like he's a one-man show running the medical facility
of this huge thing.
Yeah, for what was it, 75,000? Yeah, 75,000 people. And he's the closest thing to an authority figure, it seems like, that's in there. And he's like, oh, God, cops came. Thank goodness. And he's like, here's what all the shit that goes on in my building and no one deals with it. Are you going to do a little bit about it, maybe?
And then it cuts to the drug den, and we get to see slow-mo and how it works and all that. These people, I was thinking of it like, I don't think I would ever want to do slow-mo. It sounds like the opposite of what I like.
Yeah.
Like I don't tend to like being like slowed down.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It is. I mean, yeah, I don't like the opioid experience. That never
like if I get a minor surgery or dental thing or whatever, and they give me something like that, I don't take it.
Yeah, I don't like that. I get all the bad reactions to the opioids. Like nothing jazzes me up. I don't ever. I like, oh, my skin's itchy. Like I don't. Yeah. This doesn't.
My head is totally swimming, guys.
Yeah, this doesn't make me feel good. Whereas if I buy like 2 Monster Energy drinks for $5. I kind of have to drink both of them. Yeah. And I'm like, I can feel like I can see through space-time.
Yeah, you can see colors.
Yeah. I think Fast Mo might actually
can I get a Fast Mo? I mean, that's called crystal meth.
Yeah. I'm more, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm more wired for that one.
Yeah,
that's
me
just
too,
my
for
chemistry.
Sure. And so, like, these people seem to really like it. Like, they're just going slow as fuck.
Bad luck for them. Judge Dredd asks Anderson what he thinks that they should do. They identify what block the victims were or what floor the victims were from. And she's like, find out where Mama Clan operates on that floor, hit them hard. So these guys picked the wrong day to go to the drug den because they're about to get hit hard.
And as they're waiting outside, like he asks her about the helmet. She says that it interferes with her psychic abilities, and that's why she doesn't have it on.
Yeah.
And then he just like drops a time grenade in there. He's like, doo, doo, doo.
Oh, hold on. You skip up. This is my favorite Dreddism.
Oh, okay.
Because she says, he says, I was wondering when you're going to remember you left your helmet behind. And she goes, sir, a helmet can interfere with my psychic abilities. I think a bullet may interfere with them more.
That's true.
And I was like, oh, that's a good one.
that is funny.
Yeah. But yeah, he puts an explosive charge on the door, blows the door, and goes in shooting.
Yeah.
And it's some spectacular slow-mo violence.
Yeah, this is a slow motion murder extravaganza, and the visuals are just super solid. Like, it reminded me of The Matrix, how when, you know, they the scene in the lobby of the hotel or whatever with the marble on the walls, just spraying, the same thing with like plaster and whatnot. It's just really cool.
Yeah, and so it's very low budget how they achieve all this stuff. They're hitting guys with basically a short burst of an air cannon.
Okay.
Shooting it on the 3,000 frames per second. So you get the body thing, and then CGing in the bullet hole. So you get the impression of the impact. The actor can act against it, but that's just an air blast.
Yeah.
And they're just filming the natural reaction and then adding the viscera and gore.
Yeah.
And the blood just like elegantly splatters through the air.
That's some really good visual design. I mean, I thought it was really cool. And so after they blow this place up, they arrest a drug dealer named Kay, and Anderson mind probes him, and she learns that he was the one who carried out those executions. He skinned those dudes.
Yeah. And Dredd's like, you sure? And she's like, 99%. He's like, oh, that's not enough for a sentence.
Yeah.
And he gives him a whole thing about, he's like, if you want to confess, it would save me a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
But he knows his rights. He doesn't say a word.
Yeah,
and so they're going to bring him in for questioning.
Yeah, and then it cuts to this weird looking ginger guy. He's
Bill Weasley. Like, that's
computer hacker.
Yeah, because he's in the credits, he's just called like Clan Techie or something like that.
Yeah.
So he is Bill Weasley throughout my notes. That's
nice.
That's just what I call him.
And he's got cyber eyes, and it's pretty cool. Like,
he's a net runner.
I like the cyber eyes. Yeah, he's definitely a net runner. And I really want to play some Cyberpunk games.
I know. I do feel like I have been away from Cyberpunk a little.
There's
too
a new
long.
DLC coming before too long.
Yeah,
so.
I'll have to get into that. Who is that? Domhnall Gleeson plays Clan Techie and Bill Weasley.
Yeah. All right.
And so I should say his real name once before I call him Bill Weasley for the rest of the
I'm
rest
just
of the
gonna
podcast.
call him Hacker Guy or whatever, but Bill Weasley works. So basically, like, he's looking at all this stuff on the monitors, and he tells Mama that there's a problem and all that, and that's when Mama's people they seize the tower's security control room.
Yeah, because Kay knows everything about the operation. So
he's like a lieutenant.
Him getting questioned is very bad because there's no chance that he can keep his mouth shut once he gets. If you have psychics questioning you, you're done for.
Yeah, you're just fucked.
So it's not acceptable. He can't leave the building. If they had just executed him on the site, there'd be no movie. The movie would be over.
I mean, they should have, though.
They should have. 99%. I feel like he kills people for less than 99%.
Yeah, I think he kills people for resisting arrest. And that guy certainly did.
Yeah. But anyways, as they're about to leave, Bill Weasley initiates a war lockdown on the building, which basically is a protocol that shuts blast doors all around so they could withstand a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, there's just like these huge sliding armored plates across everything in the building. and it's pretty interesting
to see a homeless guy gets crushed by the door as it comes down. It's pretty gruesome. They were almost out the door when this all gets shut down, and then Mama gets on the intercom and basically villain-splains to the whole block what's going on. There's 2 judges in the block. She wants them dead. The block will stay locked down until they're dead. She mobilizes all her gang members and tells the civilians basically stay in your apartments until the shooting stops.
I think the acting was really good in that scene. Like, Mama does awesome, like a good villain splain.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, we know the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
This is the plot of the movie. It's
a siege movie.
This is a siege movie. I think the novel writing trope this is called is monster in the house, and where you lock your protagonist in a confined space with bad guys, and so the setting itself is a bad guy,
right?
And so this is a cool plot. It's a tight plot. It's a classic. It's
great use of budget, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you have a low budget film, setting everything inside of one building really helps you out.
Sure.
And it's just like everyone gets it. It's, when you talk about the classics, the classic plots, everyone understands them intuitively. This could be in a foreign language and you would understand everything that's going on.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, bad guy, oh cops, oh thugs, everybody. Okay, here we go.
You get it. You get everything.
And so we get basically this is going to be a run and gun movie. This is very Night City. This is very definitely cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And
what's Dredd's build in Cyberpunk?
Oh, I think he's just like a super toughness guy with a smart gun.
Yeah, smart gun stats. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that tracks. That all.
Yeah, he's all
goes.
resilience and reflexes and stuff, and a smart gun. And she's some sort of weird thing that doesn't exist.
But doesn't exist in the setting.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like we get some run and gun here. Like he
continues assessing her through the whole thing, and kind of making her make the strategic calls of what do we do next.
And when she actually has to like put a bullet in someone, he's watching her and he watches the struggle on her face, and then you see the resolve and she does it, and you see him kind of slightly nod, like you did the right thing.
Yeah. It's part of their fucked up world.
Well, yeah, you can't be a judge that won't kill people. That's not how judges do.
Not in Mega City 1.
Yeah, and so then they try to go to the medic center so that they can hole up there and it's defensible, and the medic won't let them in.
Yeah, I think smart move on the choice of the medic, but also dick move. It's a little of both.
I think I would have let them in if I were him, but then again,
he's got to live there.
Mama would probably kill him.
Yeah, and if they actually hold up there, things that happen later in the movie would have happened just directed at the med center.
Yeah.
And then the building just doesn't have a med center afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think he did probably not the moral move, but the most intelligent move.
He was like, I'm neutral in all these things.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. I guess as a medic, he has to be. He can't pass judgment on the people he's treating. There's a Hippocratic Oath about that.
So they go skulking around. They're being kind of sneaky. And
they switch to silence mode on their guns.
Yeah, and then they go into an apartment, and there's this lady, and they want her. The lady wants them gone and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Anderson convinces her to open the door because she kind of does a read on her and gets on the intercom, and she's like, "Kathy, open the door," and she doesn't know who's out there, and they barge into her apartment.
Yeah. And then the lady's like, go to the service elevator. She tells her some insider information. And then Anderson reads her mind. They already iced this lady's husband.
Yeah, the guy...
She sees the pictures of them on the mantle or whatever.
The guy that she hesitated to kill a little bit earlier was the husband of this woman who basically just saves their life. Because she says, like, I'm not doing it to help you. I just want you off my floor so you don't kill any of the goons on this floor, which are my goons.
Yeah,
like my husband's one of these goons, and there's not a lot of opportunities for us. There's 96% unemployment in this building. Goon is a good job.
Yeah, that's a position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we see Weasley. He's kind of like looking through the cameras and showing scenes of the aftermath of the judges.
Yeah.
And they use the security system to triangulate where they're at, and they kind of lock them in. They lock down that section.
Yeah, it's there. He's on level 76, and they shut all these grates and doors and just corral them in there. And Dredd has Anderson. He has her take the prisoner, hole up behind the elevator shaft because it's a defendable position, and he's going to go out and investigate. And he tells her, "You might not want to be taken alive if I don't come back." And so it's things are looking pretty bleak for our judges.
Yeah, and the criminal guy, Kay, he basically is trying to fuck with her by imagining gnarly things and like trying to like hit her with mental images and stuff. I don't know why she just didn't pistol whip his ass, or maybe
she does smack him,
or just like just kill him. I mean, she's a judge.
I thought so many times because there's a moment when she says, just a bit before this, that he's a liability. And Dredd's like, "You want to cut him loose?" And I kind of thought, I mean, this guy did a triple homicide. You have two judges. You literally could execute him and just move on.
Yeah.
But they want to question him and do things by the book, and she's being assessed or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought was, how stupid is this guy that he thinks a 21-year-old woman who's a powerful psychic is going to be shocked by anything that he thinks. She has just ambiently picked up the most disgusting thoughts from men for her whole life.
Yeah.
Your weird sex fantasy that you try to creep her out with is nothing based on what people compared to what people think when they don't know she can understand or see what they're thinking. So it's like every time he tries to like freak her out or whatever, I would just think like, you have just no clue what women deal with.
Yeah, he's
so
not
clueless.
A very smart dude, honestly.
No, not at all.
So we have like this big lead up to Mama and her people establishing some big Gatling gun pieces across the gap from where the cops are locked in.
Yeah.
And they have this big lead up to basically shooting fish in a barrel. And they have these two huge, gnarly Gatling guns. Three, okay. Yeah. And I guess they're called rotary cannons.
Yeah. I call them miniguns. What distinguishes a Gatling gun from a minigun from a rotary cannon?
Well, I think a minigun is man portable.
Okay.
Those were not.
Okay, because they're
full
mounted.
Turreted. Yeah.
Yeah, they come and put a stand on and then mount the gun onto it.
Yeah.
Okay. But is a Gatling gun hand cranked? Is that the?
I think in the oldest form
in World War One.
I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting.
Whatever it is, they lay waste to
these
level
things are
76.
high powered.
Yeah, and massive civilian casualties. You have to assume structural damage to the building.
Oh yeah,
there's some load bearing walls get taken out, and we're only at 76. There's over 100 floors above this.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you're risking the building coming down when you do something like that.
Yeah, that was really stupid. Mm-hmm. I don't know why she didn't use like gas weaponry or something.
I guess they would just keep going up. But it would never reach her floor.
Sure.
You could gas a few levels and maintain the structural integrity of the building.
And then vent it. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
You'd be a better drug kingpin.
Dredd gets out to the skate park thing on the side of the building.
Yeah, basically, he makes it back to the elevator shaft where they're barely holding out, and the guns put a hole in the outer wall, which he expands with his explosive rounds.
And then they get outside, and then his radio works.
Yeah, because they're outside the building.
Yeah, and so he radios for backup. Isn't it nice to know that even in the future, your cell phone won't work around concrete?
That's the thing so many future dystopia kind of movies get wrong, is assuming technology will advance a lot more than it actually will.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because there's no incentive to improve on certain things. Like,
I mean, guns will improve.
The guns are incredible. Cell phones still kind of suck.
Yeah.
It's like that.
And so he radios for backup, and they send backup, and that's cool. But he's basically...
But they can't stay out there because they're too exposed.
Yeah. And so, meanwhile, Mama sends her henchman, Caleb, who's her other lieutenant, to go search for them. And when they meet, he doesn't do so well. Dredd chucks him.
Yeah. I love that Dredd just walks out to the balcony, throws him off, and then walks back into the shadows.
In a cloud of dust like a total badass.
And it's like, basically, you just killed all the civilians on this floor, wiped out.
For nothing.
A whole floor for nothing. You didn't touch us.
Yeah.
And now we're going to flip the game now, and now I'm on offense.
Yeah, he throws him off like a boss. He could have killed him stealth, but no, this was a statement.
Yeah, and they take Kay like to a classroom to give him some, Dredd puts him to the question, and he's trying to beat it out of him.
Yeah, beating the hell out of him.
Like, what do you know that she's willing to do this for? Because this is extreme. It's not just about killing 2 cops. And he doesn't say anything. And so Anderson this is her moment to shine. She steps up. She's like, he won't need to talk if I question him. And she goes inside his head.
Yeah.
And just makes short work of this guy. Like, he tries to run the same game on her with the sex fantasies and stuff. And like he's going to freak her out because he's like, between you, my fucked up head and your fucked up head, you can't handle my fucked up head. And she's like, psh, yeah, I can.
Yeah, she literally wrecks him in there. And then when it cuts back outside of the psychic scape, he's like pissed himself.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
And she's like, the big information that she didn't want, that Mama didn't want out, was manufacture of slow-mo is going on in Peachtrees. It's all
for the
in-house
whole
here.
Mega City 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a pretty big deal. She's living large, being a drug manufacturer, and then it kind of goes over to the Ron Weasley again, or not Ron Weasley,
Bill Weasley.
Bill Weasley.
Yeah.
Bill's cooler than Ron. Let's be real.
He's back on the mic because Dredd's backup arrives.
Yep.
And he has to cook up a story about there's a malfunction. They can't open the doors. It's because of the fire on level 76, which you can look up and see the smoke. And all the while, Mama has like a hooked knife to his
right
pale guppy belly.
Yeah.
And Bill Weasley is not. He doesn't want to be the clan techie, right? Like, he's here under coercion. That's becoming clear.
Yeah, he is not into this, but he has no choice.
Yeah.
But basically,
you're like, you're good at computers. I'll kill you if you don't do computers for me.
Yeah. And so basically, they convince these cops that they can't come in yet. They're trying to fix the security system. And so these 2 judges are waiting outside.
Yeah. They're just basically like, if you don't have it open in X amount of minutes, I'm charging you with obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, you still can't get in.
Yeah, one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And so Anderson suggests that they hide while they wait for the assistance. And Dredd is like, nah, we're going after Mama.
Yeah, he's like, you gave us 2 options. There's a 3rd option.
Yeah. And so you see, man, there's some scenes along the way where like they're confronted by some armed teens, and there's some hesitation on shooting these kids.
Yeah, it's all. This is really like all the furthest they go into humanizing Dredd is that he shoots these kids with the stun rounds instead of just annihilating them.
Yeah,
because he correctly assesses these kids aren't an actual threat.
Yeah,
but they need to be dealt with, and he's going to send them to the juvie cubes.
Yeah,
which I guess are a level below ISO cubes, but still probably terrible.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's not a place you want to be.
Yeah, but I guess you don't want to be in Peachtrees either. So you know, everywhere is going to be horrible in this future. So.
I mean, there has to be some nice places. That's just the nature of things, right?
There is certainly rich people somewhere in this world.
Yeah, and so. Kay uses this as an opportunity to like grab Anderson and take her hostage.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Pulls her onto the elevator, takes her up to Mama's level, and Dredd is displeased with the situation. Mm-hmm. When they get Anderson upstairs, basically everyone is like, "Oh boy, we get a torture and rape a cop," and Mama's like, "No, that's not happening. This is all going to look like a drug bust that went bad. You're going to shoot her in the head in the slow-mo den, and we're just going to set this up.
Yeah.
No torture and rape." And they're like, "Aw."
They're like, "Shucks, Mama."
It's like, that's what we got into this game for.
Yeah.
And then Bill Weasley, always the bearer of bad news, has to interrupt Mama to tell her that Dredd's trying to get on the PA. So they have two options: either shut him out of the system or let him talk and get his location.
Yeah.
And so they let him talk, and he gets on and gives his "I am the law" speech. And it's the reverse of her speech from earlier, where she's like, anyone that's helping the judges, I'm going to exterminate the next generation of your family. He's like, anyone that is helping Mama is an accomplice to her multiple homicides, and I will be dispensing justice.
Yeah. I'm all for it in this case. Normally I'm not rooting for the police officer, but in this case, these people are despicable.
In this fucked up world, I mean, it's like you just sort of adapt to the rules of this world, I guess, we're in. Dredd is our guy, and so we're in on this, despite the fact this is all a very fascist, terrible thing.
Yeah, I like that he sets up a decoy in the intercom place where they tracked him down to, and the thugs come to like wrangle him, and he's across the way, and he basically shoots them with napalm.
Yeah, hits them with an incendiary round from across the atrium.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so Mama gets the bright idea, got a cop problem. Let's call in cops on the take. We'll call in 4 crooked judges to deal with this situation.
Heck yeah.
And so she gets these 4 guys in. They let them in. They dismiss the 2 guys that were waiting to get in.
Yeah.
Like, basically, you guys are chumps. If you were halfway good judges, you'd already be inside.
Yeah.
And so they go in.
And they promptly ice the medic guy who comes out to talk to them. Like, "Oh, the reinforcements have arrived. Oh, I'm going to go talk to him." Okay.
Yeah, they're like, "Will you testify?" Because he's like, "It wasn't the judge's fault. This was all the Mama clan." He says, "Will you testify to that in court?" He's like, "Yes, I will." That's the end of that. And they go up to see Mama, and they say the price for dealing with Dredd is 1 million credits.
Yeah, that seems realistic.
Yeah, and because everyone knows Dredd. Dredd's a problem.
Yeah, he's a famous bad cop.
Yeah, and so he's like, "What about the other judge?" And they're like, "Oh, we have her." It's like, "Make her dead." So Dredd runs in to one of the judges kind of right away, and immediately smells a rat when the other judge doesn't mention that there was 2 judges under fire.
Yeah, like, this guy has absolutely no guile whatsoever. Mm-hmm. He's like, Dredd's like, "What do you mean? There were 2 of us." He couldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I fucked up. I misspoke."
Yeah.
Like, there's no...
He gets on the radio, he's like, "Guys, you gotta get here fast. He knows I'm a rat."
Like, why? Can you not lie? What the hell? If you're a crooked cop, you got to be able to lie about basic shit, right?
And with a half-face helmet, I think lying's not that hard. When people can't see your eyes, they can't see them darting around while you think of your story. Yeah. They just see your scowling mouth. Just growl out some lie.
And so...
I figured the other cop was dead when I didn't see her.
Yeah.
Like...
If you're all by yourself, that must mean there's something went wrong. You know, whatever.
Something like that. But, yeah. Judge Chan gets dispatched.
Yeah, he gets wrecked. And at first I was like, why didn't he take Judge Chan's gun? Oh, yeah, he can't. DNA scanner. Mm-hmm. Why didn't he take Judge Chan's ammo and grenades and shit?
Does he not? I don't think he does, because I think he's in a hurry to get out of there.
He runs out later.
But he does from the later judges.
He does, yeah.
Spoiler alert, he kills them all.
Yeah, what? The hero locked in the building with the bad guys kills bad guys?
Yeah, because we cut over... At this point, we cut over to Kay, who's continuing to make bad decisions with Judge Anderson. And he's kind of teasing her before he's going to shoot her with her lawgiver. And he doesn't understand that they're biometric guns, and he blows his arm off.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me, honestly, that a career criminal isn't familiar with the standard armaments of the police force.
You know, they say in the behind the scenes stuff that some people live their entire lives in these blocks
And they never see a judge.
Yeah, like they've never been outside because you don't have to, because it's a whole city within a block.
Yeah.
And so it is possible he just really doesn't know shit about the outside world at all.
He just knows this block.
Yeah. It's more than possible. It's plausible.
Okay.
And, you know, he dies because you blow off your arm and get no medical treatment. You're going to bleed out pretty quick.
Yeah. And also, he's been painted as kind of a ding-dong the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of looks like DMX.
You know, he's a pretty... Because that's... Woods is the actor's name from... he was in The Wire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wood Harris. He's a great actor. I mean, we're kind of shitting on him, but it's the character we're shitting on.
Yeah, it's the character. He's played really well.
He plays an idiot who's gone too high in this crime organization.
Yeah, he was promoted beyond his effective competency.
That's what happens. Guys do that a lot, where you lie about your abilities and hope to grow into the job, and he's been just keeping his head out of the water.
Yeah, he didn't ever grow into it.
Yeah. So... You know, Anderson, Mama hears the gun go off, and she goes, basically, she's like, Kay's dead. Like, she's like, I knew he couldn't manage to kill a girl that was tied up. Like, she has no confidence in him whatsoever. And so the other lady judge is part of the 4 crooked judges.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll go after her. She's like, I've got her cold. If I see her first, I shoot her. If she sees me first, she hesitates, and I shoot her. I put in my notes, well, that's a bad plan because she's a psychic. But
yeah.
You run with that.
Yeah, Kaplan really thinks she's got this shit down. And so Anderson escapes and she runs and sees Kaplan, and she's like, immediately reads her mind, and she's like, oh, okay, boom.
Yeah, she's like, put the gun down, rookie, and she just shoots her. And it's like, yeah, what do you think the psychic was going to do, dummy? Like, you can't run up with, I'm going to kill you in the front of your mind.
So here's the thing. Kaplan was all guile. Chan was no guile.
Yeah, that's true. The other 2 judges that are coming after Dredd, they catch him in the slow-mo lab. Yeah. And they have like kind of a back and forth, I call it the opposing theories on law enforcement, where Dredd is all law. And he's unmovable, like Stannis Baratheon. He's the true iron, right? And they're like, this city's a meat grinder, and we just grind out the meat.
Stannis is the true king, right? We can agree on that.
Of the 3 Baratheons.
Well, I mean, of Westeros, 7 kingdoms. I'm
still hanging out with book Stannis. TV show Stannis went over the line when they burned his daughter.
For sure. I disavow the fanfic.
Book Stannis hasn't done that yet. Doesn't mean he won't.
Yeah.
But nothing published. Back to Dredd.
We should do a book study podcast where we go through the books and do like chapters or sets of chapters. That'd be pretty fun.
That seems like Patreon bonus content for the future.
And we could even get some subject matter enthusiasts in on this.
We know some Game of Thrones nerds.
Yeah.
Nerbs even. And so Dredd, he takes out one of the cops, and he's keep whittling down. They're splitting 1 million 4 ways. He's like, 3 ways now. And then he takes out another one. He's like, now it's 2 ways.
Suits me.
Yeah. So they get it down to basically one-on-one.
It's just Lex.
But Dredd, he knows that Dredd is out of ammo. And he catches him with an armor-piercing round through a wall.
Through a concrete wall, yeah.
And he goes over to finish off Dredd, and Dredd goes, wait. And like you said, Lex goes off. Like, he's like, oh, the famous Judge Dredd wants me to wait, and blah, blah, blah. And he rants about how Dredd's not that tough after all.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah. And then Anderson comes up and shoots the guy in the back. He's like, no, I want you to wait for her to shoot you.
Yeah, I liked that. And then he gives himself first aid. I wonder why his partner didn't help. What the hell?
I just think he wanted to do it himself because he's so hard. You know, like Dredd's that guy that he squirts super glue in it, and then suture technology has improved because he pops in the staples and then they tighten up on their own. That was pretty slick.
That seems like something that could definitely improve.
There's always money in war, right?
Military technology.
That stuff, the government funds that stuff.
And this is when he steals all the reloads.
Yeah.
So he gets, what are the guns called? Lawbringers or?
Lawgiver.
Lawgiver.
Yeah. He gets all the Lawgiver rounds. He can't take the Lawgiver. She's just using like a submachine gun that she picked up off of Kay because her Lawgiver exploded. But yeah, so he gets all the gear, all the ammo, and they make their way up to Bill Weasley's computer lab. And Anderson, gets in his head and pulls out the code from Mama's room, and then she sees all the shit that he's been through.
Tells him to leave.
Yeah, because we saw that scene of her gouging someone's eyes out earlier. Yeah. Now we see it's him. She literally thumbed out his eyes.
That's why he has cyber eyes.
Yeah, and like she's freaked out. She's like, "Get out of here!" And Dredd like questions her about it. Like
says that's a felony. Letting that guy go.
And she's like, "I failed my assessment the minute I lost my primary weapon. I'm not going to be a judge, but while I am a judge, I'm still entitled to dispense justice."
And she says, "He's a victim, not a perp."
Yeah. And Dredd kind of like, he looks at her like, "Okay, like now
you're growing into your authority."
Yeah, now you've become a real judge. And like he even says that like before they go into Mama's headquarters, when they went out earlier on, he said, "Are you ready? You don't look ready." And this time he says the question again. He's like, "Are you ready?" And she's like, "Yeah." He says, "You look ready." Like she's a grown up judge.
And this is like a video game. They're about to enter the boss's lair.
Yeah, basically.
Like
it's exactly like that. They
fought their way all the way up, and now they have to
There's been some tough mini bosses and a lot of grunts.
Yeah, like the judges were the surprise mini bosses. You didn't think you had.
And Kay was that one you think is going to be a mini boss, but he's actually just another grunt.
Yeah, he's just an annoying quest.
You're like, man, they set that guy up to be a badass, and I just one-shotted him.
Yeah.
And they get in there, and they shoot a bunch of people, and Mama slaps, I call it intrusive looking iWatch or smartwatch because it actually like plants into her arm.
Yeah.
Slaps that on.
That's like a Gen 47 Apple Watch.
Yeah. Anderson takes a hit and goes down, but she doesn't die. And Mama goes into her final villain explanation. The whole top floor of the building is rigged with explosives, and it's enough to take out 50 stories. And if we blow up 50 stories, the whole building's coming down.
Yeah.
And this thing is rigged to my heart rate, and so if I die, the explosives go off.
Yep. And so it's like, "You can't kill me, ha ha ha." And Dredd is like, "Oh." And he hits her with some slow-mo and throws her down the atrium.
Well, he shoots her first, right?
Sure.
And then he basically he calls her bluff. He's like it's a kilometer to the bottom of this building. What's the range on that thing?
Through a kilometer of steel and cement.
Yeah, because basically, if my cell phone doesn't work in here, why do you think that thing's going to work from the bottom floor?
Yeah, and there's no way, and your heartbeat will beat all the way until the ground.
Yeah, he makes sure of that with the slow-mo, right?
Yeah.
That it's going. She's not going to have a heart attack on the way down.
Yeah,
she's just going to keep living all the way to her gruesome end on the floor. And we see when she splats, the red light goes on the thing, but the floor doesn't blow up. And he just sort of looks down there like, "Yeah, I didn't think it would."
It's like,
if it did,
whatever.
A life well steved. and he rolls on. But it's like he bet it all on that cell phone reception's terrible in this building.
And so then they go downstairs, and Anderson takes off her badge and hands it to Dredd.
On the stair ride down, he very gently dresses her wound for her. I thought it's like
it's a little humanizing.
It's a little humanizing. Like he's really like for Dredd, he's really opened up to her.
Yeah. This is as human as he gets.
Yeah. He's like, "I'll help you with your wound, comrade."
And then she hands him the badge and is like, "I know I failed, blah, blah, blah." And she leaves. And then Dredd goes and talks to the chief judge, and she asks about the performance, and he says, "She passed."
Yeah. And she's like, I knew she would. Yeah. And then we get a little return of the monologue from the beginning about how the judges are the only thing keeping order in Mega City. And we see Anderson like at headquarters with her helmet as a full-blown judge, and Dredd riding the lawmaker around town. Roll credits. That's the end of Dredd.
Yeah, that was tight. There wasn't much
no fat
to trim there.
This is like one of those lean dingoes or coyotes.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's just all bones and sinew and menace.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there was no wasted time in this movie. It was all action, character development, a few callbacks here and there.
Yeah. All right. What worked for you?
Good acting overall. I thought all the main characters were good. This is cheesy. The movie's cheesy on purpose. It's satire.
I don't think it is cheesy, but it is over the top. It's arch.
It's intentionally this way. Like, and they do a really good job. And so that's my first point. Second point. Fast-paced movie. It never got stale. I was never bored. I never looked at my phone once. I didn't even look at my watch. It was really good as far as that pacing goes. And then finally, the setting. I loved the apartment building, how it was cyberpunk, the shopping center, the food court or whatever, and the city, the pan shots with the drones over the city and the wall itself and all these cubes and everything. I just loved the setting. It seems so good for cyberpunk. How about you? What worked for you?
A little bit of a retread on some of your stuff. My number one is Karl Urban.
Yeah.
Dredd is a really tough character to portray for an actor because he's barely a character. And he's less human than RoboCop.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? RoboCop
really
has deeper feelings than Dredd does. And so it's hard for an actor to play someone that's such a shallow pond. Like, they always want to get the helmet off and show their eyes and humanize the character. Karl Urban never does that. He completely understands who the character is and just executes the assignment flawlessly.
Yeah.
Anthony Dodd Mantle's cinematography. This movie is gorgeous. Like, it doesn't have to have an Academy Award winning cinematographer shooting it, but it does, and they make the most of him.
Yeah, for sure.
You see why he's won all these BAFTA awards and everything. This guy is a great cinematographer. And like you said, the super brisk pace. It's a lean and mean action movie. Very little story, straight to the point. Dredd is a character that comes from a 2000 AD. It's a sci-fi anthology book. I think Dredd works best in short, brutal vignettes.
Yeah.
Like this wouldn't work as a 3-hour movie because there's not 3 hours worth of character because Dredd doesn't have an arc.
Yeah.
But for a 90-minute movie, it's perfect.
Yeah, so much better than the Stallone Dredd.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. What didn't work for you?
I didn't have anything that was just glaring, jumped out at me. So just if I'm picking, the judge helmet design is lame.
Iconic. I think the word you're looking for is iconic.
And I realize it's being true to the comic book art, and you really can't change that. And so I accept that, but I really didn't. I didn't think it fit with the rest of the setting. Honestly, I felt that bit of costuming was superhero-ish.
Okay.
And this movie is not in the least bit superhero.
Okay.
This is darkness, and I really would have appreciated something, maybe either no helmet or just some like a more tactical helmet. I just didn't like that. Anyway, that's just such a tiny costuming issue. And I don't really have anything else. I think maybe if I was to pick at it, it's the plot's one-dimensional. The characters are all one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Nothing has depth. And that's okay for an action movie. like this. It's not supposed to be really deep, but they probably could have added a little more humanity to Dredd or to Anderson, or to Mama. Mama was really one-dimensional, and I think that could have making her just an ounce worth of sympathetic might have made the movie a little more interesting.
Yeah.
What about you? What didn't work for you?
Similar stuff. So my number one criticism would be the sense of satire is not as front and center as I would like it to be. It's a satire of American culture and American police culture and all of this stuff, but it's a little subtle. Like it could be missed by the dimmer bulbs in the audience, and I'd like that to just be a little more front and center. And then Lena Headey is totally underutilized in this.
Yeah.
The DVD, there's like a motion comic prequel that goes into her backstory. And the fact that someone wrote and illustrated that kind of gets to the point of there's more story to her than what we get.
Yeah.
And it could use it. It could use a little more humanizing of her as a character. But otherwise, that doesn't take away from my enjoyment. I just would appreciate a little more depth there.
Can always do better.
Yeah. All right. What's your rating?
So I really felt like this was a true tweener. This was one. It was really hard to place it because it really felt to me like a 3.5 movie.
Huh. Okay.
And I think that so what I did was I thought about my 3-point movies and my 4-point movies, and I really thought about where it stood. And then I got to the idea of, I'm not trying to judge this in a vacuum. I'm trying to judge it as an action movie, as a satire, etc. And I do think that this does exactly what it's supposed to do. This isn't supposed to be Schindler's List. This isn't supposed to be something that is mega deep. So what they tried to do, they absolutely executed. They did it like amazingly. And so I think I have to give it a 4-star. Even though I know someone could dismissively say, oh, a 4-star movie for a comic book hack like that's just an action slog. But the thing is that it's more than that. And when it comes to being just a comic book action slog, it's superb.
Right.
It destroys Marvel content. Like, I haven't seen a Marvel movie better than this. Like, maybe Iron Man 1, maybe Winter Soldier. I'm trying to think of a better one. Maybe the first Black Panther, but not many. There's like 40 attempts at Marvel movies.
30.
Anyway, so I give it a 4, even though I think it's a little bit of a justify that 4, but it is a 4 for me. How about you?
I also give it a 4. I don't think you have to try as hard to justify it. I mean, because I think it is a superb version of the thing it's trying to be.
Yeah.
I think movies like this...
It's like a Best in Show pit bull.
I don't have any trouble giving movies like this a 4. I think 4 is the peak for a movie like this. I think it's if you execute this sort of thing flawlessly, 4 is all day.
They'd have to do something special to elevate it to
get
5,
past
like
a 4.
make it a Blade Runner.
Yeah, like it would need another level of depth to be more than a 4. But yes, I think this is a 4-star movie.
I was surprised as fuck that this was this good, honestly.
Yeah, I always because that came up when we were talking about it, and you're like, I never saw that. It's a superhero movie. It's like, oh, that's not what Dredd is.
Yeah, I don't watch superhero movies. I tend not to like them.
Dredd is not a superhero movie. It's a shoot 'em up. Gonzo cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, this is the most cyberpunk movie we've seen. Most true ass dystopian, dark.
Yeah, and it feels like in a long time, right? Like between RoboCop and here, there's been a long gap of true cyberpunk.
Yeah, and I mean we've watched a few really good cyberpunks like Johnny Mnemonic, and even The Matrix isn't very punk.
It's like cyber goth, but then you're splitting hairs.
It's splitting hairs. This is a really good one, Divers. If you've been sleeping on Dredd like I did for 10 years since it came out, it's 90 minutes and it's tight. You'll enjoy that 90 minutes. Just the
Has Karl Urban ever let you down?
No, that's the thing.
You can trust him. He doesn't do shit bombs, I don't think.
He doesn't have to. I don't think. You know, like he's got enough work. He doesn't have to take the shit roles.
Yeah.
So IMDb gave it a 7.1. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 79. And Letterboxd gave it a 3.6. So that puts it at average like a 3.7 or a 3.8. So we're right on. But me justifying a 4, saying it's a tweener, everybody agrees it's a tweener. It's not a 3. It's closer to 4 than 3.
Yeah.
Like by far, nobody puts it closer to 3. So that's a good one. And I like this movie, so I'm glad we did it.
Cool. Well, let's take a break and get back to our final segment. All right, welcome back, divers. Time for that final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
All right, this segment is sponsored by Audible. Okay, no, it's not, but it should be.
It's been a minute since we had an Audible book.
Yeah, so I just finished one, and I finished it today.
Ooh, I love when it gets down to the wire. It's like, am I going to be ready to talk about this before the podcast?
Yeah, I was planning to listen to it all the way up until you got here, unless I did. I got it done earlier. Anyway, this one is called The 9 Eyes of Lucian. This is
I've heard of this.
This is a Critical Role book.
Oh, okay.
It's in the Mighty Nine second campaign. This is the second Critical Role novel, and it's focusing on, and it's standalone. It's not connected to the other one.
Okay.
The other one is based on first campaign stuff, and so this is focusing on the backstory of a PC that died fairly early in the campaign. I think 35 odd episodes in. So
of the first campaign
of the second campaign.
I was saying, okay,
and it's
not the characters from the cartoon.
No.
Okay.
No. This is about Molly Mock Tea Leaf, who was a tiefling blood hunter.
Okay.
And so basically, he died, and then, but when he built the character, when Taliesin built the character had amnesia. He didn't know his past. He wanted Matt, the DM, to like dealer's choice, like whatever. And so when Molly Mock died, it was the perfect opportunity to use that character further, because the persona of Molly Mock was actually just part of the fractured psyche of Lucian, who's an insane cultist, to this ancient arcane power. It's really cool story, and I think anyone could enjoy this, whether you've watched the campaign or not. It's really, really well written by Madeline Rue, and it's particularly enjoyable if you are already a Critical Role fan. But even if you're not, it's super good. It focuses on a villain, and it makes it extremely relatable. Like, it's super humanized, and his number one, like, he loses his great love in the story, and his best friend is with him through the whole thing, and they have this awesome friendship journey, and his friend ends up sacrificing themselves. It's really good story. And it's voiced by Robbie Daymond, who's a renowned voice actor, and he's a Critical Role guest.
Okay.
And all of the players play their own characters.
Oh, that's always good.
And Matt Mercer, the DM, he voices Lucian. So he's like a third of the voice acting of the book is Lucian. So, and Matt Mercer's the best. He's the GOAT. So, it's super good. I give this overall 4-star novel.
Oh, nice.
Like, it wasn't perfect. I've read novels that I was more in love with, but this one, it was about a 12-hour Audible, which is respectable for a credit. And I really liked it. I'd recommend it to critters, D&D fans, or anybody that just likes fantasy that's tight. There's no wasted time.
I don't know. I mean, have you talked? I don't know where I have heard that name. So, like, it's the 9 Eyes of Lucian. That's what you said, right? Yeah. Somehow that broke up the surface level to where I heard of it.
It's probably I mean, there's a bit of an ad blitz. They make a lot of money. Like, I know. So Critical Role might seem like it's a small time enterprise, but I mean, They've got their
kind of
Amazon show. Yeah. They've got Audible books. They've got self-published gaming materials. Their official TSR, old head.
Actually, no, we don't want to be associated with the current TSR.
Wizards official materials. So they're kind of the big name in D&D, and D&D is kind of a big name in games.
Yeah.
So there's no...
It's a little game you might have heard of.
Yeah, little things made popular by Stranger Things.
Did you finish Stranger Things?
I did. I finished the whole damn thing, and I was fucking shook, dude. I was so fucking sad about Eddie.
Oh,
he's my favorite dude.
Did you read the thing Diver Sage wrote about Eddie on Facebook?
I'm sure I did, but it was a while.
It was before you watched it.
Yeah,
so
it was.
So it didn't mean you're like, Stranger Things, I don't care. Yeah, because he really, like, Eddie hurt, man. Like, Eddie was such a good representation of
like a D&D playing nerd, metalhead guy. Like,
yeah, like people like
he's like me.
Yeah. That's the thing about this show. It's because the kids are, a little bit older than me and us in the actual timeline, but so close to our actual childhoods.
Our experiences are very similar.
It's always been so easy to be like, if I went to this school, these are my bros. Like, these are the kids I hang out with.
Yeah. Like, I would be best friends with Dustin.
Oh, easy.
Like, that kid, fuck. He would be my bro.
Great, snarky dork.
Yeah. I love those guys. Like, I love all these characters. And Max at the end, I was really heartbroken about her. I love that character. Actually, I was watching it.
When her little arms break.
Yeah, I was like, don't do that to Max.
That's how you know something's good, when you're like almost out of your chair because a kid is getting hurt or whatever.
Honestly, the scene, aside from Eddie, the scene that was really moving was when Eleven and Hopper reunite. I was just like, oh my God, this is such a good fucking show. I love all of these characters.
Will crying in the car because he's in love with Mike, and Mike doesn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that hurts. The stuff with Mike and 11, that all hurts. Like, it's all... Stranger Things is a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's 5-star TV.
Really good.
Anyway, that had anything to do with the Mighty Nine. I did want to say what's next up in my queue. It was a recommendation from
Audible?
my brother-in-law. Yes.
Okay.
This is fan fiction.
Okay.
And normally we're pretty dismissive of fan fiction.
Sure.
But this has a Google review consensus of 96%.
Oof. Okay.
And it's been around for a while. It was written in 2010.
Okay.
This is called Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
Okay.
This is a super popular fanfic that recreates the entire Harry Potter story from the ground up, as though he were not sold into an abuse factory as a child. But it basically tackles the Harry Potter Hogwarts experience from the perspective if Harry was brought up to be a bright, educated lad who was, had a positive role models, etc. And he learns about like real shit in school, and they explore magic and include lessons on things like cognitive science, philosophy, the scientific method as applied in this world. And it's fucking great. The whole concept is cool. Like, I started reading a little bit, and I read several reviews. And just so this only covers like his prequel and his first year at Hogwarts, and it's 660,000 words. Just for reference, a normal novel is about 100,000 words.
Okay.
The first Game of Thrones novel, Game of Thrones, is 298,000 words.
Okay.
So I did some math. This is about the equivalent of the first 5.5 Harry Potter books.
Wow.
And it has very, very universal acclaim as kind of the best Harry Potter fanfic.
Okay.
And anyway, the reason it comes up on Audible, and because my brother-in-law recommended this to me, he read it in like text form.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be Audible for this. And so I looked it up. I'm damned if there isn't. There's a guy named professional voice actor named Jack Voorhees who is doing it as a podcast, not for profit. It's not monetized.
Okay.
He's doing, voice actor quality reading of this, one chapter at a time, one chapter a week. And he's a little over halfway done.
Oh, wow. So as long as it is, you can get in on this and it's going to last you.
It's going to last a long fucking time.
So how do podcasts on Audible work? I should know this because we have one.
Yeah, we are.
Does it cost credits or do you just...
No, it's just free. It's included.
Oh, so we can just listen to this.
Yeah, I can just listen to this. And so I'm just going to start listening. And he thinks it's going to take him over 500 hours to do this whole thing, which is insane. Like, I don't think that's possible because even the first Game of Thrones book, which is like little less than half of this, is only like 50 hours.
Okay.
I don't see how he's going to get more than a few hundred hours out of it. But anyway, I'm going to start listening to this. It seems really cool. I recommend the divers out there, check it out. And don't turn up your nose at fanfic.
No. Fanfic is I mean, going all the
That's
way back
season
to
5 through 8 of Game of Thrones.
I would say going back to the early... I mean, that is what early fandom was because there was just like that one season of Star Trek, basically.
Yeah.
And then people
much.
Started like making more.
And Filk and all this other fandom shit. Like, yeah.
So I'm going to let you get into that a little ways because you're a bigger Harry Potter fan than I, and you're a harder critic than I am. So...
And this has nothing for JK.
It is sort of nice, to take a little back from her.
Yeah, we're exploiting your IP.
Yeah.
And you get nothing.
If you get into this, I'm definitely going to check it out.
All right. Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Cool.
All right. So what about you? What are you into right now?
All right. I started playing God of War Ragnarok the other day.
Oh, shit. I was looking at that.
This is from Santa Monica Studio, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Came out just on November 9th. And it is the 9th chronological game in the God of War series.
Jesus.
I've never played any of these games. So this is a whole new world to me. I do regret not playing the last one.
Yeah.
Because this is a direct sequel to 2018's God of War. And I've always liked the imagery of this game.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm a fairly recent return to Sony person. I was Team Xbox for a long time, and these are Sony exclusive games, and so I hadn't played them ever. And then, but now that I'm on the PS5, the trailers for this looked incredible, so I just thought I'd start playing it, and it took a little bit to grab me.
Okay.
And I especially there's some early missions where you play as the son Atreus, aka Loki, and I was like, this kid's a pipsqueak. I signed up for God of War. I don't want to play the little kid with the bow, and I was kind of crappy on it. But then the second time you play as Atreus, and you go to Jotunheim and like start getting into his backstory and stuff, I went all in on the story, and last Sunday, I lost the whole day to this game.
Dang.
This makes a really strong case for video games as cinema. Like this, the story of this game is deep, and I'm heavy into it now.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm all in on God of War. I might go back and play the 2018 one after I finish this.
Oh man. And then do another playthrough.
That'd be the Dave way. Turn up the difficulty and go.
Yeah, just go again.
Or turn down the difficulty and just go ham through
yeah.
just cut through people like
I'm
butter.
an old man. I don't have time to do a million resaves and retries. I don't have time to be doing games like Dark Souls or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would rather play it on normal mode or easy mode if I find it's hard. I'm not going to lie. I suck with a controller. I'm a mouse and keyboard guy. So sometimes I have to turn that shit down until I learn the controls.
Yeah. I had Wolfenstein. I just wanted the cathartic thrill of killing Nazis.
Sure.
And so I put that shit on easy and just blast them.
Yeah,
I hit them with the fireman
Nothing
axe.
wrong with easy mode. You're supposed to have fun while you're playing games.
Yeah.
You only turn it up if it's more fun to turn it up.
Yeah. Let me shout out some of this voice cast. Christopher Judge returning as Kratos and Sonny Sudik as Atreus. They're both great. Ryan Hurst, who played Opie on Sons of Anarchy, is Thor.
Wow.
I'd take him in live action as Thor. If Chris Hemsworth ever gets tired of it, you could just slot Ryan Hurst in there. That'd be fine.
That guy's awesome. He needs to do more movies and stuff.
Yeah, he just does like AMC TV. Like he's on Walking Dead and things like that.
Walking Dead just ended. I thought about going back to that because I fell off the train after like season 3 or something.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that's a lot to slog. 12 seasons?
Walking Dead lost me. It lost me.
It's a soap opera.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so Sons of Anarchy, and I like that.
Yeah, and Sons of Anarchy eventually lost me too.
After Ope dies, you can stop.
I go longer than that.
That's
if you quit
shark jump.
If you quit before they go to Ireland, that's acceptable.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it gets pretty wacky there. But I'm glad I finished it out because I watch Mayans.
I don't watch that. Is it good?
Mayans is
mid-tier TV.
It's mid-tier Sons of Anarchy, and if you're already in that far, you might as well keep watching.
Do you get some SOA cameos here and there?
Here and there, yeah.
Right.
At the end of the last season,
do you get Grim Bastards? That matters.
There has not been any Grim Bastards.
They're my favorite ones.
Well, didn't the Grim Bastards patched in to Sons of Anarchy?
That's true.
At the end of the series,
at the very end. So I guess they would just be wearing the Reaper.
Yeah, there is no more Grim Bastards.
Cooler name than Sons of Anarchy.
Grim Bastards is a good club name. Yeah, see, you would like Mayans. It's more ridiculous macho male soap opera. Like the plots are just absurd.
Dude, we were on a roll. Speaking of ridiculous macho bullshit, me and Carrie were on a road trip and we stopped for gas and then like a fast food place and we parked the truck and I'm walking up and I look and like there's some fucking cool motorcycles, just 2 of them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, that's fucking rad. I want one of those, Carrie. And she's like, yeah. We have that conversation and we walk inside. And they're 2 fucking outlaw bikers.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, oh, yeah, I guess they have cool fucking bikes. Because that's their life. Is cool fucking bikes.
Yeah, and running drugs.
Yeah, whatever they're doing.
I assume it's against the law. That's what makes them outlaws.
Yeah.
My last thing to say about God of War Ragnarok, the thing I think that really hooked me is the flipping of Norse mythology and the perspective. This is an anti-god game. Huh. Kratos is a god killer, Yeah. And so the Aesir are the antagonists. The Jotunar are the protagonists. And I love getting the familiar stories from the opposite angle. Because it's really not hard to make Odin and Thor into bad guys if you turn it around. They're pretty brutal murderers all through mythology, as it's written with them as the heroes. They're already terrible
because those behaviors are glorified in the
it's very Dringar behavior. Yeah, so I love the anti-god.
Do they smatter in some Old Norse terms like that, like Dringar and that sort of thing?
Not as much as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is. Because Jackson Crawford advised on that one. I think he advised a bit on Ragnarok 2 on some of like the runic spellings and stuff like that.
Just a written word, I believe. Nothing spoken.
But yeah, it's good. It's a good game. I like it a lot.
Let me know how it is when you finish it. I still need to finish The Last of Us. I haven't got to that. I bought the remake for PS5.
I've never played that. I don't know.
Supposedly, it's like one of the best games ever. And
I know.
So
I'm actually intimidated by it because I know that's one of those games like I'll be crying.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Stranger Things, where you're like, no.
Maybe I'll wait and watch the show with Pedro Pascal and
Lyanna Mormont.
And Lyanna, I was trying to think of her name, but I was going to call her Lyanna Mormont too.
You should just call her Lyanna Mormont.
Yeah, with the Mandalorian and Lyanna Mormont.
Fuck yeah, that's a buddy cop movie I'd watch.
We should chuck out Baby Yoda and put Lyanna Mormont in there.
Oh yeah, I wonder with that big black cloak with the fur on the neck.
Oh yeah, the North remembers.
Hell yeah, Northman.
All right, you want to give them the call to action?
Yeah, subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. It's free with your subscription. All the podcasts are included. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5-star review costs you nothing but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find find us on all social media platforms across the metaverse is at Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Mastodon.
Hell yeah.
Even though it's clunky, give it a try. They're trying really hard. We are on Hive. Which is sort of like if Twitter and Instagram had a baby. I think it's probably the one that's going to win of the new platforms. Okay. And we're on Vero. We've always been on Vero, but I'm using it again.
And we're on Periscope.
Are we on?
No, it doesn't exist.
We're on Periscope. We are not on Parler.
Oh yeah, we're not on Parler. We're not on Vine.
Truth, not social. Yeah, none of those. But all the weird, we'll try every other weird platform.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.